with Scherezade Garcia. I'm Brookes Ebetsch. I'm interviewing her here at the Crossroads Gallery, and she's currently installing her exhibit for us. Can you introduce yourself for us?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to Notre Dame and to be part of this community now. I am very happy to be here. I was talking to you before, but you know that I love schools, so I am very comfortable. I am a native from the Dominican Republic. It's my country of origin, and I live in New York City, a city that I adore. And I am been working in fine arts since as long as I remember.
So tell me, where were you born? Tell me about your family.
Yeah, well, that's what I say. As long as I remember, I've been in the arts. My family is very. In my family it is a lot of variety of people, but we are very into art, into literature, into theater, music, and so in a way, being somebody with a talent of visual talent, it was something very normal. So it wasn't something like, oh, you know, an artist, what a problem. No, it was like something encouraged and something that everybody loved. And I am from Dominican Republic, from the capital, Santo Domingo. And so my father is a civil engineer who is also a sculptor. He designs bridges. There is a whole book about his work, and it's called Science and Art. So you can see that obviously we have a lot of things in common, and function and art. And my mother is she studied to be an engineer, but at the end she was a stay-at-home mom, which is wonderful because my mother is very into theater and in literature. So she had the time to give us all her energy and all her love for the arts to us. So we kind of really had a very good balance at home. So I had a very, very happy childhood. And my sister and I, we both artists. My other cousins are also artists. And since I was like 7 years old when in school, every time I went to school, like the teacher would say to my mother, you know, your daughter is the artist of the class. And one day my mother was looking at me and saying, but Scherezade, every time I check your bag, you have money. How is that? And like, well, because I have a business. So what's your business? Well, I draw Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh, Topollillo, which is an Argentinian cartoon, which I still think is beautiful. So I have all this business doing the break. So people say, can you do this for me? Can you do this for me? So I had a whole business going on. So from there on, my mother said, well, I guess you should go to a, you know, like a after school program that, for the arts. So they put me in modest school, and I was there, and all the painters, that was the teacher, which is a very important painter in my country, who unfortunately died like 5 years ago. And he was like, you know, I'm gonna send all this work for the competition because she used a machine. She's like working like crazy. So I was like starting to get all these prizes for like children competition in Dominican Republic. So then I got to do illustration for the newspaper. So I got my first job there. So from there on, in a way, I've been involved officially in the arts.
So how old were you when you got that first job
8.
at the newspaper? 8. Wow.
8.
So now you have one sister.
My sister, yeah, one sister.
Do you have a brother too, or
No,
is it just
my
the
sister.
two of you?
Two girls.
And what did she think? Because she's an artist now too. Was she
well,
involved?
she was always, you know, she was younger than me, 3 years younger than me, so she followed, you know. And thank God we very close. We have a wonderful relationship. I guess the reason we have such a good relationship because we are very different in certain ways. You know, I am not a dreamer though. I am very practical sometimes, but there is a side of me that I am very like, let's go and climb that mountain. My sister is very practical. So we really balance each other out. So there was no jealousy or anything like that. So she just going along, and, you know, we just well involved in everything. You know, so it wasn't, I guess my mother was extremely intelligent to be able to deal with like the attention I got, you know, and separates the talents and the, I think that's very important to keep the harmony. Also, I told you that before, the way I am, and always been, I need beauty. I need harmony. I cannot live in disagreement. I gonna find a solution somehow. So I get that since then. It's always been like that.
So then were you able to take art classes in high school as well and before you went to art
Yeah, I was always involved in art activities. When I was like 8 until I was 13, it was a very important time because my mother started worrying about, like, how I gonna advance in the profession, how I gonna challenge my talent, and and it was hard because Sango, my mom is very intelligent in that too. She really disliked the very academic teaching of, if you make a human figure, it has to be 10 feet here, 10 inches here, 10 inches there. So that kind of like really mathematical art. So she was like, no. And then she consulted other artists in the country, and she decided that I was going to be assisting other people. So I had the wonderful opportunity of working with a lot of talented people, way older than I am, which was great because not only because, well, I guess it's something that you learn from home, but I am very respectful of people that have more experience than me. And I found that makes me so much richer. And since that time, I remember working in the Teatro Nacional. They used to do this beautiful theater company from Puerto Rico, used to come to Dominican Republic. And I was part of the people that were doing the drawings of the choreo of the stage design. And I was working with those people that were professionals, so I had all these opportunities. Then I worked with Nidia Serra, who was the person who introduced me to murals. Because the few women in Dominican Republic that were just doing their art. So through her, I did a lot of activities in the book fair, in the National Book Fair. So that's how I really got my education before college.
So tell me a little bit about the actual work you did with Nidia Serra.
Well, Nidia was, Nidia, Susi Pellerano, all that generation were people very entrepreneur. And then with Nidia, she used to take me and my sister Liliana and another wonderful artist from my country, Raúl Reción, in her car, 3 of us on the back. And she would go to all the national fairs, the book fair, the craft fair, all that kind of thing. So we were given walls. Mm-hmm. So we were decorate the walls with a theme. It's mainly into the patriotic road, If it was the book fair, just do something about the writers and the inspiring the books of Dominican writers, things like that, which is wonderful too, because always I am an avid reader. I love to read. I am crazy. I mean, in fact, if I am in an island and I don't have nothing, the only thing I would say is a bookstore, because I love books. So I had to read information to then be able to take symbols from there and make something meaningful. Not only for the people that wanted to see the mural, but also to please me. So I started to get into this artist need. I need happiness for myself there. So I did all that kind of thing with her. And then also I did a lot of foreigner competitions. I don't know why, but in the late 70s, they did a lot of competitions, exhibition, children's exhibition all over, United States, even China and Germany. So my paintings and my drawings were sent there to represent my country. So I did a lot of things of that kind. So it was basically it. So, and also I developed this relationship as artists with her and with other artists of that generation. So that is being extremely helpful to me.
Did you have your own style at that point already?
Well, if you see my drawings, because, I see them and it's like, it's me again, It's like, I guess I always have a very loose line. My line is not scared of being the paper. I love to invade the paper. So it shows. It's like, boom, boom. So I guess it's always been very loose. The drawings has always been very open. Even though the composition, now that I think about it and I see it back, it's always been very baroque. You know, I used to do a lot of, when I did things, I used to fill it out with plants. Like, and I understand it now. If you go to the Caribbean, even when there's a hurricane, oh, destroyed, the land is destroyed. I am telling you, a month later, everything is green again. So I guess that is in me. You know, like this thing that things grow back. So I can't stop myself from feeling things out. So, and I see that in very early drawings. But that's it. Say about that.
Would you describe your work as kitsch? Because in one of the articles that Edward Sullivan wrote about you, he said, oh, well, yes, it's very Baroque, but
See.
verges on kitsch.
Well, in that part of the work now, I sometimes do it purposely. You know, because he said that, and it was because I wanted to do like using the pink. It was a big, it was an interesting part because, you know, I have a fashion background too. So pink is always been a very abused color. You know, it's like, oh, pink, you know, so tacky, you know, or always it's kind of like put pink down. So that's the reason I started using pink. And so it was like, in a way, I wanted to play with the idea of tackiness and made the tackiness somehow chic. But also, it was a very good reason. I used the pink because I wanted to, not only to give pink the power, but this was because the selling of dreams, and that was the reasons I use it a lot, because the way they sell things, very important things, is by packaging the best part of it and tell you, oh, this is going to be perfect, without telling you that everything is a saga, everything has a cycle, and not everything is wonderful, and it's necessary sometimes, and things are not wonderful. So you don't take the good things for granted. So it's something very, you know, I am a spirit of contradiction. So I guess the reason I start with the pink and the use with pink, it tells you that contradiction is going to be always in my work.
You mentioned your background in fashion.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things with me is that I love everything in the arts. Like I said, I love beauty. I love beauty. And I think people underestimate beauty. You know, I think also that idea of beauty is very limited. When people think about, oh, a Barbie, you know, it is so wide, the idea of beauty, you know, and so important. When we go inside a place that is beautiful, everything lights up. And it doesn't mean luxury. It means harmony of things put together in a place. You know, a bare table with a wooden background, if it's positioned in a nice place, in a nice way, it's composition already. It tells you about beauty, harmony, weight, you know, balance. So that's how I see it. And so when I decided to go to college, it was a very difficult situation for me because I love so many things. I love political science. I love sociology. I love history. I love literature. But I have this art thing that I felt, and it was a mistake from my parents' immaturity. I felt that it was too easy. It was like I wanted to be abused a little bit. Like I wanted, but it's the opposite. It's really because I knew how much of a torture art is, because it's every time you do a work, it's a part of you. So it is very hurtful sometimes and very deep. And I mean, when I am doing exhibition, I cry like the hormones are going nuts. Like when I have two girls, my pregnancy, everybody says to me, well, get prepared for the change of mood. And I am thinking to myself, I have been through this many times. You know, I've been through this, because it's this change of things. So when I decided to do the profession, I wanted to have a curriculum where I was open to a lot. I wanted to be able to do things that were for a wide audience, not for me, my universe, and my studio. So, because, like I say, I enjoy to have my universe, but I like to challenge that universe to see how people understand and how see it, and to even get a 5 from them. So that's why I went to Parsons School of Design. I was very lucky. Had a very open curriculum where you have, they very strong in fashion, fashion illustration, eh, interior design, architecture. So doing those 2 years in Dominican Republic, and then I won the scholarship to go to Parsons in New York, I was able to touch many areas. And I enjoyed vastly. And when I was at the end of the 2 first years, I met this wonderful, or a famous fashion illustrator from New York, Antonio Lopez. And Antonio Lopez was like, in that moment, oh my God, I thought can you stop that, sorry?
You were saying about Antonio Lopez?
So, so Antonio was such a legend of a fashion illustrator, of course, because I was not in fashion. I wasn't so in touch with how famous he was. I knew the drawings and I knew all many things, but I didn't know the extent of his talent. So he went to give 2 workshops in Dominican Republic. I was in the middle of getting my visa, getting my papers for a student visa, so I was in the middle of so many things. So I decided to take the workshop because I love fashion. I love the theater of fashion. It was so wonderful. And it was such a different way of drawing the figure because you had to talk about clothing too. So I learned so much and I enjoyed so much. And at the end of the critic, like the general critic, Antonio gave me the big honor of taking everybody's work down and put my work on and say, you know what, you should work on this. And because you are good at it, I am like, I am in fine arts. What are you talking about? I am worried about social issues. It's like, you are, and he said, of course, he was a diva. I was like, you are fashion. It was like, no, I am fashion a little bit. But since then, I definitely decided that fashion was important. Fashion illustration was an important thing for me because I enjoyed it a lot. And it gave me another view of drawing. And also, I have to change many of the proportions of my figure. And my drawing changed a lot when it goes to fashion. Even though if you see it, you're going to see, oh, that's Scherezade. You can recognize certain things. But definitely, and again, it's what I like, is to be challenged.
Is that where some of the work like haute couture and catwalk came from during that workshop or afterwards?
No. This is now, posters that are being produced by a company called Fashion Art Bank. That is a group of wonderful illustrators from FIT, professors there, and they are representing some fashion illustrator artists. So I was one of the artists they pick, and I've been working with them for 4 years now. So that's what you saw. And in fact, those are not exactly the more typical ones. They were more, in a way, more commercial to do posters, but very colorful. Mm-hmm. But I love art. I love fashion. And then also my first job. When I was out of college, I faced a problem. I decided to stay in the United States. I totally fell in love with New York. And I started really having a wonderful understanding of this country and loving many things of this country in many different ways. So I decided I want to stay. It was hard because to stay in a job visa, you have to have a full-time job. So I had to justify my degree. But it was no problem because I have a degree in fine arts with fashion illustration. So I started working as somebody that have a fine art background but could design. So I had the good luck of working for Carlos Falchi, who is a Brazilian high couture accessory designer. So I did all my fashion illustration, my designs. For like 5 years, I worked full-time. And it was also an experience that I really treasure. Because like I said again, it makes you so much richer. Because you really know why you don't want your career to go. You really know what you really love, what you take for certain things, what you leave out. So it gave me, I think all these experiences just gave me so many good things. Sometimes it wasn't easy. Sometimes it wasn't easy. But also I got very good friends from all these experiences. So that makes it worth it too.
So when you first started going to college, you went for 2 years in the Dominican Republic?
Yeah.
And was this a school that was relationed with Parsons?
It's Parsons, but over there, they had an affiliation because, okay, the school is called Artos de Chabón, who is like a little bit of like a paradise. And it was a wonderful project created by Charles Bludon. Charles Bludon was one of the people from the Gulf of Western. They have a lot of sugarcane business in the east of my country. So when the sugarcane business really went down, so many of these people have such a good relationship with the land, okay, then they decide that many people, they just wanted to have a piece of the land there because they just love it for sentimental reasons. And Charles Bludon decided to do something outrageous, to do a totally cosmopolitan and vanguard a school of art in the middle of nowhere. And that's what happened. So the goal was like to make it international. I was lucky enough to be at the beginning of the dream. He unfortunately died before it was really established. But I was the second generation officially in Artos de Chabón, which is the east in La Romana, Dominican Republic. And the reason I think I felt very lucky, not only because the staff, the faculty was wonderful, is because also when things are in the beginning, you really feel you're changing the planet. Everything is like, we are changing this, we are like making this totally different. You've never seen a group like this to happen. So we have all this wonderful energy from the faculty. And still, we have this relationship. Like, I still share so many of my doubts and my opinions with some of my teachers because they're people that came to be very important in my life. So, so that's great.
And were these teachers from the Dominican Republic or from all over?
It was very international based. There were Americans, Argentinians. It was bilingual. So, and then at the second year, we had a Dominican professor who is now one of my best friends. So he was very young. So when I got into the 20s and he got into the 30s, so we could, it's like, so and now there are more Dominicans, which is great. But also I felt that it was very good and people were from different places because what that made the whole flavor much better, and also it gave any rules that came with the idea that, because it's a tropical place, it was totally destroyed because all these people came from so many different places and they had to reconstruct the idea of tropics. So that was a challenge also, and that was quite wonderful. So.
How did you decide then to make the change from the Dominican Republic to go to New York?
Well, because it was 2 years that they offer. So then, after that, you can go on your own to New York, or you should submit your application, and they choose by portfolio. So I decided, and that was my thing. I was going to be an artist anyway, so that's what I had to do. In fact, I was going to go to Spain. And I was even accepted, but once again, I was already very influenced by the opening up of this country, all these possibilities, all these different art actions in so many things. And I felt that if I were going to Europe, it was going to be too academic again and going back to the kitchen of painting, which I don't enjoy. It's like mixing this, mixing that. I think it's important to know it, and I think it's extremely important to know it, but it's not something that I enjoy. I wanted to be more open, so I had to take the decision. And I think it was a good decision for me, because really that's what I am for. I feel like I am a warrior. I always like to break frontiers in a harmonious way.
What was it like coming here for the first time? You came by yourself, or?
My father came with me to look for a place to live. Because for some crazy reason, now that I think about it, we didn't go to the Parsons campus. I don't know if it was too crowded or my father and my mother didn't like it too much. I don't know what it was. But we got together, 3 of Dominican that came, and we lived like in an apartment, looks like a block from the college, which the college, Parsons School of Design, is in the center of the village in Manhattan. So it's it's wonderful. It's like the heart of the big city. And I think it's the best part of the city. It's very bohemian, very artistic, and beautiful. So then then my father came to me to check the place to be sure I was safe, and then he left like a week later. And since then I am here. And I fell in love with the city, that's for sure.
When was the first time the theme of paradise had appeared in your work?
In a way, I think it's been present for a long, long, long time. But the more I got more mature, and then when I start getting, when you are from a different country, like me, but I don't feel foreigner, because I don't feel foreigner anywhere. I don't know. I don't feel foreigner. People remind me I am foreigner because my accent. But that's what I remember. Then I had to think about how to pronounce this or that. I remember that it's not my language. But really, I don't feel foreigner. So all of a sudden, I start having big shows in my country, keeping one foot here and one foot there. Because after I was like, after college, I kind of abandoned that part of my life, like doing things in the Dominican Republic, so I had to come back. When I came back, it was very successful. My first show in the Dominican Republic sold the day of the opening. So it was like a welcoming. So I felt very, very blessed, because the acceptance, being approved is always great, because it makes you feel like, I can't do things, I can't do that, I can't do this. But also brought a lot of other things that I wasn't expecting. It brought a lot of envy, a lot of stories that I just couldn't believe, a lot of this thing, you left your country, like in a way, like I was like rejecting my island. And I felt totally offended, because to begin with, I come with a very patriotic family. So that's not even a question. I just don't believe this extreme nationalism has any sense. I am not like that, because one more time, how I am. I don't feel that you are from Russia, and I had to, cross oceans and cross land to get there. It doesn't mean that you are from another totally planet. You are a person too. So I felt like all these emotions. And then I had to really edit all these emotions and to start looking at the symbolism and use all my pain, because it really was very painful. Because it was so unfair. In my eyes, it was so unfair. So then that's how I started working with the idea of paradise. As like, this is it. What is the meaning of this? And especially because I live in my country. I live in my country for so many years. I understand that paradise is such a relative thing.
Do you feel like you've been able to reconnect with the Dominican Republic now?
I never was away. It was just part of my life, part of my saga.
Do you think it's important for you? I know that you've done some video work there now recently. Is it more important for you to make that effort to do certain projects in the Dominican Republic?
Well, I always try to do things there. But since so many of my work start using the reference of Dominican Republic, because that's the history I know best. And at the end, history is similar almost everywhere, because it's human behavior. So I do a lot of things that start with a theme that is local. So then if that's the time, I go there. So yes, I do a lot of things there.
Tell me a little about some of the experiences you've had in exhibiting in other countries.
Well, basically here, and Puerto Rico, and Cuba, and France, but always being welcoming. I always, because like I said before, also because I think beauty is important, once again, I am sensitive to different places. So when I go to different places, I enjoy them. Like I want to see what is there to see, what is there to experience. So when I went to Puerto Rico, for example, or went to other places I've been, it it is just one more time experience, part of the art, but my experience. And then it gets to be put all together in my being, and then it comes out later on, you know? But it always been welcoming, and it always been great. I've been lucky in that sense.
How about your experience with the Japanese magazine?
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
And maybe that was a
Jap-
different experience from being in the Caribbean.
You know, Japanese, I love Asia. I mean, I had to go to Asia, I'm telling you. I had this thing with China, Japan, I love it. So anyway, also when I was working full-time for Carlos Falchi, so many of the things we did market was for Japan. So the people that work with me there, I start making connections. And then so these people call me up because they want to work with me. Then from there on, things start going another way, and I start getting a lot of freelance, but more in the illustration and the fine arts. So that's how I start like establishing this relationship, and I have a company, it's an agent really that represents me there. So I do a lot of work with them. So it's quite, you know, it's very different, but it's similar. They from Ireland. So since they have an island like me, they have a very strange relationship with the big continent that it will be China. So it is same. I mean, I listen to them talking, and it's wonderful to listen to us talking because me with my accent and the Japanese with their accent, and people wonder how we understand each other. At the end of the conversation, we are like everybody saying, "Oh yes, 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 yes." Like they are sometimes talking to each other in Japanese, translating the things, and I kind of get it because the gesture. So it's really it's funny, but there are connections. There are a lot of connections with how other countries invade the island, the history of the people, the way they see themselves of like the frontier of the water. You know, that kind of thing is a lot of similarity with them. So I connect very well.
I know that you have 2 daughters right now,
Yeah.
and you're one of 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And when I look at your work, I, as a viewer, see a lot of gender issues coming into your work.
Yeah.
Is that something you do purposefully, or do you think it's something that happens?
It happens, and I also think, well, also lately, also I am more conscious about it. But you know what? I come from a family of women. And that is story of like, oh, because el hombre de la casa, the man of the house, that is not in my vocabulary, you know, at all. You know, my father also very liberal. My father always been from a Dominican man. He's totally not typical, or at least the way they sell the idea of a macho. Because I know a lot of Dominicans are not like that at all. So I come from a family that has many, many women. So I see women of power, always being the boss. So I guess when I do my drawings of always like look like women and children and images that are gentle, then if you see the position and the role in the painting, always is the power. So it's the contradiction of something that looks fragile, but is very strong. And I think that's the most dangerous tool, because it's like deceiving. You think you're gonna find such a smiling face, you don't know this person can really, face a problem and solve the problem. So I never saw that idea of like women abuse. That's something that I kind of like here when in New York, I start, in fact, one of the reasons I couldn't be part of certain groups is because I never felt abuse of a woman. Because I didn't have that experience as in my childhood and my growing up. So I never expect anybody to abuse me. So I guess that's a good attitude. It's like the same thing with discrimination. Yes, it does exist. I understand that. But if you have the open arm for that to happen to you and you go everywhere with that attitude, you're definitely going to find it. So,
who is your audience for your art when you're creating your art?
Young, contemporary collectors, usually. And a lot of people in the architecture business is funny. No, it's not funny, really. It's not funny. It has sense. They usually be artistic, and people that appreciate that, and they need it for their space too. So usually it's a younger, when I say younger, it's 40-something to 50. Basically, those are the people that collect my work.
Mm-hmm. Including your installation pieces?
Sí, yeah, I would say so. And of course, there are always other people that buy my paintings and richer drawings. Because I guess what happened, my paintings on paper especially, some of the ones I have here, is that they carry the Latin American tradition. You know, there is a mestizaje and some of the tropic symbolism, and I guess they feel some kind of nostalgic and closeness to it. Mm-hmm. Also, the other people that like my work too, even though the idea of the Catholic symbolism is a relative in my work, because I use political images too. They use it they like it because it's also, you know, the mestizaje of the Catholic icons. So I guess that's also.
What's your opinion of the idea of a Latino art? And do you think your art falls into that category?
You know, there's so many things now it's such a need to classify. And you know, in a way, you know, because I am organized, I like that. Because then, okay, you know, then you're looking for something, then you're gonna find it here. You know, I feel it gives so many, it can put in a box, it's very hard. I think for what's happening now, it fits, if I want to. If I don't want to, I can't say that, I can't just invent another story and still be in my same discourse, my same theme, and still be Latino, but it can be very, my things are very universal, because the paradise, the islands, the idea of the tropics, or like, at the end, it's a question of humanity, you know? But yes, but what is happening now, I think I represent a lot of what's happening in the contemporary Latino art, I feel. And the preoccupations and all that kind of thing.
It's interesting that you talk about being able to be on both sides of things, and that.
But one more time, it tells me about my personality. I need a balance. I need to be in harmony. I cannot think this or that are good or bad. To me, that's way too easy. So I always in the gray. Mm-hmm. And because the gray is more complex. And that's why my work is so baroque. Because there is not one through. Mm-hmm. It's so many through, you know? It's so complex. And that's what I enjoy.
Do you think that's part of the duality that's represented in your work?
Well, you just stole my word. That duality is extremely important in my work. Mm. Yes, yeah.
What do you want people to take away from your work when they walk into one of your installations?
Provoke thoughts.
Provoke thoughts.
Hopefully, I do it. Yeah.
So what else are you doing these days besides, you know, I know you do lots of exhibitions all over the place at Newark Museum, yeah, and in the Caribbean too.
Well, I am going back to painting a lot. And I am also doing my animated videos, and we're going to be showing one here. Mm-hmm. Many reasons. I am, I have a spirit of contradiction, like I said before. And I have this problem. Everybody's using videos here, and I am like, to a point that video is more important than the work, and I am like kind of like fighting that a little bit. I want more hand, and I need that. I need to touch it and to touch the material, and then I guess this is a need I have now, and I am like developing all these paintings on paper and all these drawings, and also I am also developing a big sculpture that is going to be part of this solo project I have at Lehman College, Alga Levy. Mm-hmm. Then it's going to be, I am very excited about this project. It's going to be a sculpture. And still the idea that I have is to do something that looks like a cathedral. And also, the cathedral with the sense that it's going up, like the Gothic idea of going up to the sky, to the heaven. But also I was thinking about the Tower of Babel, like the idealistic thing, you know. But it's really representing the transportation of paradise. And it's really touching the theme of Washington Heights, which Washington Heights is a part of Manhattan, which is like we call it Dominican land. Because you go there, people speak Spanish, and everything is Dominican. And I found it extremely interesting. I find it great how many of these people gone to New York thinking already, in 10 years I'm going back to my country. I'm gonna make money and come back. So I like the idea of this idea of camping. But then this camping gets to be a house at the end. It gets to be their house because years start passing. But it can be cold. But they're gonna be having this junjun. Junjun is like this very cold, icy drink of colors. That is totally tropical because it's hot. So in the street, the Puerto Rican call it piragua. They do this in the street like with the ice, and then they put all these ice. So they bring that to the winter. It doesn't matter that it's winter. They are complaining about the cold, but this junjun has to be eaten. Then all of a sudden, the diet doesn't change. It just is transported from the island to this place. But then if you talk to them, everything in Santo Domingo is bad. No, you cannot live there. No, things are very difficult. But then it's a contradiction right there, It's like they're gonna camp in this place for a certain time. But they don't realize how the city start being their place. So this idea of this place, we can make the money because we can find gold. This is the conception. This is very funny. In New York, even in the sidewalk, you find money, which is a very typical story in my country to tell, like how people think that. So they bring all these, all these things, and they put it in the snow. So I have all these sculptures that I am doing of tropical symbols in white. That's one thing. Plus the whole sculpture that is going to be inside is going to have like images of the mess of Washington Heights. And when I say the mess, it's the liveliness of the streets, with merengue music. Doesn't matter, and it's 0 degrees, all this tropicalism in an urban, very Anglo city. Well, Anglo not anymore, but because it's so mixed. And then it's going to have also like windows that feel like it's camping. But at the end, what I wanted to see is like how it takes character, how this camping going to be like a cathedral, like a big place to go. Some kind of like a prayer place almost. So it's going to be.
What was the transition that happened between doing paintings and drawings to doing handmade sculptures and then video and photography?
I kind of done that always. Like we're talking about when I am like 16, I always like the idea of things that are soft, but then you can just convert things. I love that idea. And I guess it has to do also with many things. The idea again of things that are easy to adapt, which is part of me, adaptable, and also the idea of labor, like give things soul. The idea of being like sewing things and painting things up top and then covering up, and that kind of thing I think has to do with women labor and women want to preserve. I guess but I always done that. A lot of things with, that is like the dimension of my paintings.
Where does the video then come into that?
Well, the video comes for my interest of moving, the moving drawing. And that's why animation always been one of the things I really like. And it's a shame that I haven't done so much, because I have so many work in that direction. So it's moving, the moving drawing, give it a movement.
So what's your next exhibit that you'll be doing?
The Lehman College Art Gallery, which is October, that's the big one. But I'm also preparing one for Puerto Rico. It's at the Sin Título, it's a Galería Sin Título in the center heart of Puerto Rico. And I am very excited by that because I was very well received by critic and by public with the video of Sabana de la Mar and some of my drawings in the gallery. That was last year. And it was wonderful because the theme of the Dominicans going to Puerto Rico is a very taboo issue with Puerto Ricans. And it was shocking to me to see the racism between our own people that we are the same. People like us, neighbors right there, 45 minutes from Santo Domingo. So it was shocking, but I love how they receive it and they embracing the idea of unite and to understand the reason. Also, I am working a lot, not only with the idea of Dominicans going to Puerto Rico and all the symbolism in between the trips, but also working with the emigration, the land emigration from Haiti to Dominican Republic. And that's going to change the tone a little bit because I use the idea of the frontier of water a lot. Because always the frontier is the water. This time, because I come from an island divided, the frontier is not water anymore. It's our own land. So so I am working on that. So I am kind of suffering a lot lately with that because I go to a lot of suffering. Very Catholic of me. It's like a lot of suffering. But this is life.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing your new work, and thank you so much for doing this interview with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks.